Maggie Frank-Hsu, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to talk about your volunteer work. Thank you for volunteering to help female entrepreneurs through your guru hours. So I'll give a little background here. Maggie is a member at Hera Hub Sorrento Valley and Mission Valley. You move between the two spaces, and you are our copywriting guru here at Hera Hub Sorrento Valley. So before we dive into some of the things folks may come to you for, talk a little bit about your business and who you serve.
Sure. Thank you so much, Felina. So yes, my name is Maggie Frank-Hsu. I'm a solopreneur. I do the things that I'm doing at Guru Hours is really what my business is about. So I coach other female entrepreneurs on how to write for their business and really how to share their biggest ideas about their industry and about their work with the world. That's it in a nutshell. But how we do that is, I've tried a lot of different ways. I have a lot of experience as a professional writer and as a copywriter. I've written sales pages and kind of all the online marketing stuff you might imagine. I've managed lots of social media accounts, high profile. I actually started my career as a journalist and reporter and editor. So what I do now in my business is I take that experience as a journalist and editor, especially the editorial experience and also the marketing experience. And I bring both of those to coaching female entrepreneur clients who want to write just more in a more compelling way about what they do, not just and what they do and what they sell, and also the change they want to see in their industry. So yeah, that's the business.
Awesome. Love it. And content is everything now, right? I mean, content is king or queen, we could say. So everybody, in business is cranking out content no matter what your business is. And we all know we need it, but actually doing it well is an entirely different story. And having somebody like you to not only help and support, but also kind of keep us accountable too, that we are actually creating the content that we need to keep our website fresh in Google's eyes and all these other things that we need to be doing. So we're sharing content not only on our blogs, but LinkedIn and all the other social channels. So some of the questions, Maggie, that I know we have kind of, to help people think through are things like, okay, I want to revamp my website copy. Where do I start? So let's just have fun with that a little bit. Let's just say I want to, and I probably need to do this because our website's been up for, like 4 years, right? And it seems like a very daunting task. I mean, we have hundreds of pages on our website. So where do you recommend somebody begin when they realize, you know what, I need to go back and take a look at this?
I mean, there's lots of ways. The way that I would begin is rather than worry about updating hundreds of pages, which sounds really overwhelming, start like with an overarching umbrella. So really more start with your branding. So not your branding like the colors, this is my personal branding behind me, which I just, my these are my colors or whatever. But I mean like what you're really about. And I think about branding, I heard somebody say this once, that it's what people say about you or your business when you're not there. So what you really want that to be, that's like the big idea, right? That's why you're doing this. That's why your business is set up the way it is. And you're not, running a plumbing company or something. So I think that, I'm not sure if I'm dodging the question because I wouldn't actually start with looking at my homepage and tinkering around with the words on it. I would start a little bit of a step back with like the theme, what is this? Who are you? What are we doing here? And some ways to kind of get at that are actually really fun. So this is another thing that I would say, instead of sort of like looking at it as this chore or this sort of obligation you have to Google so that you will show up in the search, kind of, if you have some fun and go back to like your biggest dreams about what this is going to be, right? That can really allow the words to flow. So so, I always say, like, I can give you the advice of what I did myself, which is like, what am I really an expert in? What do I love to talk about all day? Right. So that's your, like, what it is, what's in it for you. Right. But of course, because your website is for your customers, you got to think through their eyes. So you want to think about things like, one thing that kind of gets the words flowing is just like, what makes you mad about the way things are done in your industry? And like, what, you came in and you're like, I'm going to do this differently, and what were some of those things? What do you want to fix? Or people talk about this as the problem you solve, but just what do you want to fix about stuff? And you can hear from the last thing I'll say is you can hear from the way I talk that I think it's important not to approach web copy the way you would approach writing an essay or your resume. You want to talk like your clients, or customers. So if you do have corporate clients, then you do want to talk in this more formal way. But if you are a B2C company, like even if you're a B2B, but the other B is more informal, you want to start saying things like stuff instead of content, or, for example, that's kind of a bad example, but you want to use the words that people use and not the words you think you should use and the semicolons you think you should use and all that kind of stuff. Was that a good, so I would start with your big idea. I would start with your big idea, not tinkering with the actual paragraphs on your website.
Yeah, to your point, sometimes you need to just go back to the drawing board and really think it through, because our businesses are changing, our customers are changing, and making sure that when somebody lands on your site or they land on a social media post, that your voice and your brand is reflected in that. So let's move to that, because I know that's something you address with folks too. Like, yes, we're all posting on Facebook and LinkedIn and, whatever channels where your customers are, right? And that's a big side note distinction. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be where your customers are. If your customers are not on TikTok, then you probably don't need to be on TikTok. Yeah, exactly.
Even if they are, you're fine. Totally agree with you. But go ahead. What were you gonna?
Anyways, yeah. So I know one of the questions we have on your guru profile is, so I'll role play here. Maggie, I'm posting on LinkedIn and Facebook and these channels, but I'm not getting any kind of response. I'm not getting likes. I'm not getting engagement. What am I doing wrong?
I love this question because right? Like that was like, I like really turned it around in my own brand. And so, there's no secrets. It's just people are afraid of the answer, but the answer is you have to start talking about stuff that you care, like you really get excited about because okay. So it's kind of like a process, right? So you don't go from no engagement or very little engagement to your favorite, name your favorite person who has 1 million followers. You don't even want that because you don't I don't know, think about like people who get famous really fast and burn out or something like that. You want like slow, steady growth in terms of who's coming toward you. Anyway, sorry. So I don't want to get too far off because you also want to, if you're a services business or, you don't really need that many people. So you also want to have a clear sense of like, if they're coming toward you, where do they go? Like, hopefully they don't just go like, oh, that's nice. Right. And then like leave. But let's say you have that figured out, right? Like there's some way you capture them, whether it's you ask for their email or there's a way to call you or whatever. But so the actual post itself is just like crickets, right? So the first step in the process is to really loosen up and just write about. So really this stuff, like you can't stop talking about privately about your industry. Like when you get going on it, like this stuff that we're talking about right now for me, right? Yeah. You're just so excited. And it needs to somewhat kind of overlap with what your clients, like the problems your clients are kind of coming to you with. So like, God, I just thought of what was the example I had in my mind? There was one, like I have a friend who is a coach, and like, take this example. So she gets the question all the time, what do you do with people who ask, can I pick your brain? And she has like a really good response. So that's a great social media post, right? Because everyone hates when they get a little bit of traction in their business and all of a sudden everyone, like, they're getting all these weird like lunch dates and they don't know how to respond. It's like a real problem that people have. And for my friend, it's also like a really fun thing for her to write about the solution to, because she actually has one and she's thought about it. And so it's entertaining for her to think about, and it's interesting to her clients. So yeah, you got to start in order to find those things, like, you just have to loosen up and write some stuff and not kind of like what not to do. Like, don't commit yourself to a content calendar. Don't like sit down and go like, I'm going to write about, this thing and then this thing, because that feels very constricting and you'll get very like, tight about it. Just write about like, it's great inspiration all the time is like when you're on the phone with a client or you have a conversation with a client and they say something, you say something, and there's like a little exchange and you're like, you just have to like capture that and immediately go put it somewhere. So if you can write it on the social channel itself, that's great. If you don't have time, just make a note to yourself somehow, whatever your way of like going back to your notes is. But that's like the first step in the process is start writing about relevant stuff, not the stuff you think you should be sharing about because experts, in your field know about that. Like everybody's going to figure out you're an expert. Like, don't worry about like,
proving
marks. Right.
yeah.
And then you should, like, when you have to kind of go through a process where you do that a lot, like a few times, more than a few times, you kind of get into a rhythm of or a habit really of capturing something that's observing, wow, I have something to say about this, writing it down, saving it for later, going to go post it, and then just paying attention to the engagement. Another key to engagement that's like really obvious that so many people miss is when people comment, go ahead and comment back. Like have a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't just let them say, this was amazing. And then,
Crickets.
So you can like foment more engagement just by getting involved in the comments. In the beginning, when you get really famous, you don't have to do that anymore. So I think like that's, when you're getting no engagement, it's because you're just posting stuff that your person doesn't care about. And and most of the people who ask me this, they do know their person. It's like, they just make this separate, they just think social media is a separate thing. Where it's like, if you were having this conversation with, potential clients or current clients, you're not going to bore them with some other thing that they don't, you know what I mean? You're going to, so you just have to, you're going to have like, you're going to talk to them about things they care about. And if they don't care about it, you're going to stop talking about it. So just do the same thing online. It's the same thing, right? Just stop talking about stuff that people don't care about and start bringing your engaging personality by talking about things that engage you. I don't know. It's like, I feel like it's like almost tautological what I'm saying. Be engaging by be engaging. But it's like, it's kind of, on the other hand, it's just weird. I get your question all the time. And it's like, well, you're just writing about stuff no one cares about.
You're boring. No, just kidding.
I
want to address something you said, Maggie, and we can kind of wrap up on this, is the content calendar.
Yeah.
So, we all hear it's so important. And, I believe talk about that. Like, because you just said that, you're like, no, just go with the flow.
Sure. Yeah. I used to advocate, or at least, recommend that, you make a content calendar. I used to make one. I actually have one, but it's more like a collection of my ideas that I want to get to. So that's how I do it. I kind of have an Excel spreadsheet where as I go, if I don't have time to write about that and they kind of collect in there. Again, that comes from kind of hitting like a vein. If you think about a mine of like, I have a lot of ideas because I'm really excited about the things I talk about now. So you have to hit that vein first, and then like the ideas will flow. The content calendar can sometimes be backward because you have this empty open thing and you are trying to fill it with, you know what I mean? Instead of kind of having this running, flowing river of ideas that you then just pop into a list, basically. I'm sure it's different for different industries. I'm really talking, this advice I'm giving is really for solo service providers that it works best for them. But because some, lots of like e-commerce or if you sell a product, you're going to be on a seasonal calendar and you're going to want to talk about certain things at certain times. And that's great to put placeholders on a calendar. I think, if you need, whatever.
Or
but
like if your industry, let's say, you're an insurance broker and it's National Insurance Month, you may want to think through at least putting out content around that topic or kind of tying into these dates of interest, right?
Especially if you have something, like that one's, to me, no, not really. Because who, does your client care that it's National Insurance Month? I doubt it. But like, if you're a female, so I think about Women's History Month because I serve female.
Yeah, that's a better example.
And like, if I have something kind of, against the grain to say about Women's History Month, especially. So or if you can think of a million, I can think of a million posts already.
Maybe.
Someone there's someone that I want to honor that you don't usually think of, as a leader in history or a leader currently. There are just like a lot of ways to talk about that seasonal thing that's going on in a different way. A lot of times, this is me too, but I really think more people should experiment with this. So I'm going to throw this out there. Like, I just had one of these today where sometimes I'll say something to my partner or to a friend where I'm like, I wanted to write blah, 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 but that would never fly. And then I think about it for a couple of days and I go, yeah, I am going to write that. Like, that's way more interesting than the edited version of myself. I think you have an opportunity on social media to experiment and people don't take full advantage of that. Nothing is going to happen. You can delete it. This is not, you will not go viral. Maybe 1 in a million people will, but you will not go viral. Like, your first few posts, very few people will see. So you have an opportunity to really experiment with your tone and what you want to say. If you keep going back to what's that passion, what's that thing you're passionate about, and just kind of bring that out. But anyway, the content calendar. Yeah, I think that's the problem with it is you look at this blank thing and then you fill it with all this kind of generic stuff instead of kind of it's kind of that I find that backwards. I think when ideas are coming to you, you should collect them into a list and then you can go back and reconnect with that moment of inspiration. Oh yeah, I know. And then it's easier to write the thing. It's quicker. The whole process is quicker. And I think you can get more formal, just like with everything, you can get more formal if you grow a team or, your following grows or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, great advice, Maggie. Really, really appreciate your time. And I know you have Guru Hours several times a month. That's all posted on our website, so we won't go into detail here. I know your contact information is there. And at the moment, you are offering virtual Guru Hours.
Right.
Hopefully, at some point in the not too distant future, we can change that back to in person.
Yep.
But thank you for, again, volunteering your time and helping out other female entrepreneurs. And if folks want to take advantage, reach out to Maggie and schedule some time.